So I said it in my last review, One Piece right now is getting too good, right? Because back in the day, whenever godly chapters like this would come out, I'd be bouncing off the walls like a young schoolgirl. Now, I just nod my head and smile. I almost feel a sense of gratitude, right? Because I'm like, yeah, I read One Piece. Me, the last Yonko. I get to read One Piece every single week, a brand new chapter on a weekly basis, and it is simply out of this world. Anyway, guys, the will of Ohara. What is she? And I do think Ohara is more of a she, right? Don't hate me for my potential misuse of pronouns. I really feel like Ohara would be a woman though, right? Because of Nico Robin, her mom. Ohara kind of just has a, female ring to it, right? The Will of Ohara is a fantastic title for this chapter because we learn so much about important characters that are all linked to the once great island. And we also get to finally put a face on Dr. Vegapunk himself, the man, the myth, the legend. And you know what? He looks just like a certain scientist from our real world, a legendary scientist at that. I wonder who the inspiration was. And we also learn about the link between Monkey D. Dragon, Vegapunk, and Ohara, and much, much more. This chapter is wild. We'll go through it real quickly. The chapter starts off with Shaka's story time, right? He tells them all about the aftermath involving the Ohara incident, the Buster call. We all saw Robin's flashback, so we all know what happened in Ohara, but we don't exactly know what happened right after. So something we, the audience, never really got to see. We finally get introduced to some of these, storylines. Also, we assume that everyone was destroyed during the Buster call and all the evidence was destroyed, but apparently not, right? Apparently a ton of books survived the Buster call and none of the Marines bothered to check, right? So I don't know how I feel about that part, right? Because I feel like it would have made sense for some Marines to go back to the island and, cut off any loose ends, as they say. But maybe the destruction of Ohara was just so immense, right? It seemed so insane that maybe they just assumed nothing could survive that, right? Anyway, we find out that some giants are already there by the time Vegapunk arrives on the island 22 years ago. He's 43 at this point, and he sees a bunch of these giants taking the books, which makes me wonder, what the hell are giants doing on Ohara, and why do they care about all these books? Like what are the giants gonna do with this ancient knowledge? Are the giants of Elbaf linked to the ancient kingdom? Most likely. But then I start to think of the giant straw hat on Marijois, and then the gigantification experiments, and then Or's the continent puller, and I'm scratching my head, right? And then the giant robot that Luffy found on Egghead Island. And then the biggest thing I started thinking, the hugest, craziest revelation that I had was that you need to hit that subscribe button. You might as well. You made it this far, right? But yes, giants seem to play a major, major role in the world of One Piece, and I'm sure we will learn much more about their link to the world and the Void Century once we reach the island of Elbaf, which I'm assuming will be after this arc, right? On top of that, we find out that Jaguar D. Saul, the GOAT, Jaguar D. Saul, is alive, which is absolutely nuts, right? Because we all assumed he was disposed of by Aokiji. But it looks like another piece of evidence that proves that our boy Aokiji is in fact a little softy goody two-shoes, and that most likely his whole, teaming up with Blackbeard is all some kind of sword, like double agent thing. It seems pretty much confirmed by this point, right? But it would be a crazy twist if we find out that like Aokiji's like Imu-sama or something insane, right? That'd be freaking hilarious. But we're all assuming he's a good guy, right? And he couldn't bear to finish off his good friend Jaguar D. Saul back on Ohara 22 years ago. So again, like I mentioned earlier, we also learn about Vegapunk's age. He was 43, Dragon was 33, about 22 years ago, confirming that Vegapunk currently is 75 years old, right? And that both of them, Dragon and Vegapunk, were great friends with Professor Clover, who used to be a big-time adventurer as well back in his younger years. And he was always obsessed with the Void Century. And I think personally, one of the craziest parts of this chapter is just the fact that the world government is so obsessed with hiding the truth about the Ancient Kingdom that they will literally destroy anyone who even hints about being interested in the truth. I personally think, just by the way everything seems to be lining up, that this is going down the Attack on Titan-esque rabbit hole, right? I bet the Ancient Kingdom was like the super advanced society, which we pretty much got confirmation of already. And I bet they started off as a great, kind, noble empire. But as time went on, as we know with all the great nations that prosper, eventually they fall. And usually it's due to infighting, politics, things like that. So I bet that the once great kingdom became very corrupt and tyrannical, right? And that tyranny caused other kingdoms to fear and despise them as well, creating a sort of, creating the catalyst for the War of 20 Kingdoms and the upcoming New World Order that exists today. Because basically, if you've watched Attack on Titan, real quick. So basically, if you've watched Attack on Titan, then you're aware that the Ancient Kingdom is pretty much Eldia, and the 20 nations are the Marlians, pretty much, in a sense, right? But we will have to wait and see. The way One Piece has been going, I'm sure we will get this info sooner rather than later. Yeah, and a whole lot happened in this chapter, which I might try to dive in on a separate video, right? Because there was a lot of stuff to dive in on. But the one thing that really intrigued me, honestly, the thing that intrigued me the most was the very last panel, right? Where Vegapunk is revealed in the present day. Because all I'm thinking is, what happened to his head? Is that some sort of helmet? Did he do surgery on himself, right? Did he split parts of his brain into the different 6 paths of Vegapunk? Because you can't go from having, the head of a Nissan Altima to what he has now, right? And what's the deal with the whole apple top? Is it some sort of advanced helmet? Maybe it's a devil fruit. That got me going down the rabbit hole there, because what if this is some sort of mythical devil fruit that lets you transfer your consciousness to other beings, right? Maybe that's the secret to his 6 paths of Vegapunk. Maybe it's a devil fruit power, right? And it would make sense, right? Because this is a story about pirates and magical fruit, as we all know. So the mystery of Egghead Island, which gets me to think, what if the egg on Goldie Roger's ship was Egghead Island before it hatched? That would be pretty nuts, right? It's like a mini version of the Ancient Kingdom in the form of a giant egg. That would simply one day hatch. I think there is much more to this theory, right? I think we will have to, wait and see, obviously. But hey, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Like the video if you did. And I'm working on a very special video right now, so be on the lookout for that one. Do you think Vegapunk ate a devil fruit? Or do you think that he just did surgery on himself and, split the different parts of his brain to his other, Vegapunk bodies? Or maybe both, right? Let me know in the comments, guys. Take care.